Welcome back everyone once again to another SnowRunner video. Today we're going to continue the truck request series, which merits a spot here for the Freightliner M916A1 from your comments. So here's that comment on screen, and thank you guys so much for the upvotes saying that you wanted to see this truck being featured on the truck request series. Please leave a comment of the next base game truck you would like to see next, and the most upvoted comment will be the next one we feature. So thank you guys so much. I see your comments. Keep voting and keep upvoting. It will happen. So thank you guys so much for that. It's really been great. A couple of things before we start. These are not reviews, guys. The reviews are all on the channel. If you go to my SnowRunner page and basically to my SnowRunner truck reviews, all these vehicles have been reviewed. The new season 16 trucks haven't came out yet to the live server. When they do, I will drop those. So if you're wondering where those are at, don't worry, they're coming. They've already basically been made. I'm just waiting to see if there's any changes. So next, if you think the channel is great and these videos are awesome to watch and you've been having a lot of fun and enjoyment watching this channel, please consider hitting the like button and also the new hype button. That is essentially for small content creators to be noticed more by the YouTube algorithms, I guess. So it would really help me out if you hit that hype button. The last video on the P16, we had 49,000 so far as of making this video, 49,000. The top 100 spot is at 149,000. So if any of my videos break into the top 100 hype videos on YouTube, I will do a 10-hour Season 16 stream when Season 16 drops, just for an appreciation. It will be streamed on both YouTube and on Twitch for SnowRunner Season 16. So please hit that hype button if you can. I would be really, really thankful for that. So thank you guys so much for all the support. It's been great. This is a great series where I can just kind of give my working knowledge from 5 years of playing this game, having fun, and just being a super nerd on SnowRunner and kind of getting to share that. So it's been really fun. So thank you guys so much. Now, moving forward with the M916A1 here, garage tour. First off, let's take a look at its engine sets. It has a couple here that have a little bit better fuel consumption. I would absolutely most likely say you could potentially download to save fuel here, but in a lot of ways, I'm going to choose power because of one thing. Because you have an always-on diff lock. And in a lot of ways, if you have weight on your aft axles, which you should be if you're using this vehicle from a low saddle or a high saddle standpoint, you can disengage that and still have high gear engaged or any gear and have the effects of an always-on diff lock. This is the dream setup. All-wheel drive is switchable to save gas when you don't need to have all-wheel drive engaged, because all-wheel drive is absolutely powerful, but also just having an always-on diff lock and two double axles in the back or two doubles in the back to fire away. So that's awesome. So this engine here is 192,000 torque. These engine sets are shared with tons of vehicles in the game right now. I even believe some of the new trucks in the game have this engine set too as well, even some of the new DLCs. So it's used by vehicles like the Kenworth. I believe the FLD has it. I also believe the new Western Star 6900 XD has this engine. There are a lot of vehicles that have this. A lot of base game vehicles and a lot of DLC vehicles. So it's not a bad engine. I will say under load, it can creep up into some values I don't like to see, burn values wise. And this is exacerbated by having a 53-gallon, 200-liter tank that is very small right here. So that's why it's nice to have that always-on diff lock and be able to cut all-wheel drive off, because one, you have the fine-tuned gearbox, which you should never use. If you're using an all-wheel drive truck, please stop using these guys. This is a special off-road gearbox. This comes standard with this truck. You don't have to unlock this anywhere. Now, the sad thing is the vehicle itself, I believe, unlocks at like level 20 or 21. So it unlocks relatively late, which is a super bad thing. I would rather have this vehicle unlock early, be able to kind of have this gearbox similar to that of like the Voron D, how it has its special gearbox and you don't have to go hunt down upgrades. Kind of like this, right? So this is basically just an off-road gearbox. Race suspension, I think you want this because you do want to have your 47-inch tires here. I would say the only downside of these tires would be they're not heavyweight, but hey, they are still pretty good. Like I said, all 6 of these options will work great for you. I don't think this vehicle has any type of balance concerns. I would say it does feel a little narrow, and the suspension in the front can feel a little bit squishy because I believe it's partially weighted a little bit more toward the front end. And I believe this is for steering control when you have load on your back axle, so it's not really a bad thing. But stability-wise, I don't think it's actually a bad stability truck, so I think any tire option you put on here is going to work for you. Moving forward, winches, I always use the advanced. Sorry, I don't have that on right now. I don't know why. And then for snorkels, it just basically gets like a short round cap. This is similar to the Paystar 5070. So you can go through some, I would say some crossings you'll get through, but not any of the deep ones where, your cab is, mostly submerged. So just keep that in mind. Coming to add-ons here. Now, this is where I do have some thoughts on this, and I'll probably save these a little bit more toward the driving portion of the video where I talk about how this stacks up and things I wish for this vehicle. But I'm just going to quickly go through these add-ons. It has 3. It has the loading crane, it has the high saddle, and it has low saddle. And it can't do these in conjunction. And it has this box behind it. And I'll talk about this box here on the driving portion too, because it kind of is weird. You can't remove it. You can't do anything with it. And I have some thoughts on this, and we'll talk about that later. But something I think with this truck is, and I'll mention this before I talk about it in the driving portion, is even though it does have high, low saddle, and it should be like a specialist that can do this really well, in my opinion, similar to that, like we talked about in the P16 video, it does have some saddle collision issues, especially with colliding with this front box here. And this happens with low saddle, the step deck, where you cannot actually jackknife it. So that's going to kind of hinder where you can use it, especially when you can back up, jackknife, and get out of certain situations, or just backing the trailer effectively. The step deck, low saddle, and also the sideboard bed, low saddle trailer, they are going to catch on this front part right here, impeding your steering ability, especially in some areas where you need to be able to have maneuverability. And that is kind of a huge downside in my opinion. The ways to get around that is using the new Season 15 step deck trailers that are the 3-slot low, and I think the high saddle 6-slot. You can use those. The high saddle 6-slot might be a little bit too much for this vehicle, to be honest. And I would say if it had heavy tires, I would probably say, yeah, go ahead, do it. But also, that trailer is super long. There's a bunch of more axles to drag through the terrain. And also catching the underside of the trailer on things is something to just be aware of. So those are some things that kind of stand out here with the M916A1. Now, let's move on to the driving portion, and I'll kind of talk about some things that I kind of left out of this little garage tour. So let's get started. One of the first memories I have of SnowRunner is actually the M916A1. Contrary to it being unlockable at level 17, not level 21 like I mentioned in the garage tour. I'm sorry, that was the 114SD that unlocks like at level 20 or 21. The M916A1 unlocks at level 17. But my first memory of SnowRunner actually is watching advertisements on it, to be quite honest. And if you're looking at your desktop right now, and the icon of SnowRunner is basically the M916A1 as the poster child. Well, back in the day, whenever I saw advertisements and stuff, at the end of those advertisements, it would show that vehicle in a blizzard, pulling these medium pipes or something of those sorts. And I was like, you know what, man, I want to haul those things with that truck. That looks awesome. And yeah, we had to wait 17 levels to get it. And by the time you wait 17 levels, you have other trucks that can do things that it can do much better than it can do it. And that's where my quarrel with the M916A1 lies. I don't think it should actually get heavy tires like I mentioned in the garage tour. I think we shouldn't have this onslaught of throwing heavy tires at everything as the solution. I think the problem with it is its saddle position is contacting a lot of its trailers from underneath, which will impede steering control. And then it's also contacting the box on the back that has that winch on the back whenever it turns. So mobility is actually impeded on most options that you're using with trailers. Now, the Season 15 trailers have been good for this because The high saddle 6 slot, well, it can be a little bit cumbersome to use. It's a little bit long. There's a lot of axles to drag through the surfaces. So you can put up a little bit more effort with this thing, but it can do it. And then you have supplies to refuel it, repair it, and stuff like that because of its small tank and all those other things. But what really bugs me is this vehicle is a specialist. It does one thing well, or it should do one thing exceptionally well. And this is what I talked about in the P16 review is if you're going to make a specialist, make it do that job very well. Because most other trucks in its class from a 6x6 standpoint can do this job from a low saddle position better. They have better saddle positions, they don't lose steering, they don't have collision, and all those other things. Now, concerning its add-ons, I would love to have a crane in a saddle low, crane in a saddle high. It would be absolutely wonderful. Remove that little winch box on the back and then just allow me to put that in there or something like that. Or if you're not even going to give me the crane and saddle low, crane saddle high, maybe make that winch box on the back some type of special winch where it has like ×5 strength, where this vehicle can be used to pull other vehicles out, kind of like a rescue vehicle that's, I guess, in this weird niche. I don't know, make it useful in some way. Because right now that box is essentially just griefing me. Now, I don't want to come off negative because I do believe you can use this vehicle, and I think the Season 16 trailers have made this much more usable because of the amount of supplies in the back to keep it on the road with the small fuel tank, like I mentioned here. It also has, switchable all-wheel drive to cut off the all-wheel drive penalty, and then you have the Dream setup with the always-on diff lock, which is also good. On the other hand, a good thing about it is it has a decent frame collision mesh from the underneath side, which I'm not going to put on screen, but just take my word for it. It's actually not too bad, and I think it's pretty favorable for a base game vehicle. If you would ask me in 2020 if not having a small crane was a big deal, I would probably say it's not a factor. But in recent years, it has become my #1 add-on because of its usage outside of loading cargo. My changes for this truck are probably as follows. I would probably make some changes to the winch in the back and make it unique as mentioned. Maybe adding a crane in conjunction with the saddle and potentially better saddle positioning with the addition of some extra tank space for its fuel. How does the Freightliner fare against new trucks moving forward here? I'm gonna say not too well, to be honest. It's one of those that you need to fit it with the right trailer that it can utilize and also have support to load it if you're a hard mode player. Trucks with many add-ons today have saddle positions that are absolutely incredible, making the M916A1 a little less appealing. But in truth, with a little bit of thought and a little bit of strategy put forth, you can take on the current regions of the game and those that are coming out in 2026. So with that being said, please hit the like button and also the hype button if you really like this video, because it will help the channel a lot if you hit that hype button, and comment on the next base game truck that you would like to see next, and the most upvoted comment will be the one we feature next on the Truck Request series. Signing off, y'all. I hope you've really enjoyed the video today and potentially learned a few things along the way as well. So until next time, God bless and stay upright.